Yo, we're back. We're back. Woo! StryfeSight on journey. Yeah, StryfeSight on journey. Now, I will tell you before we jump into this fully. This is the first time that I've listened to an older rock band in totality. First time. I know of a few of them. Like, I've heard of Led Zeppelin, I've heard of Guns N' Roses, and maybe I know 1 to 2 to 3 songs. Same thing with Journey. Same treatment. I am specifically choosing Journey for this because I actually went to go see them live with my girlfriend and her girlfriend's parents. My girlfriend and her parents. She ain't got no girlfriend. But maybe, who knows? No. but yeah, that is why I am choosing Journey. Now, I originally had a method of how I was going to be choosing artists. It was going to be, I started with hip hop. I went West Coast with Tupac, East Coast with Biggie, South with UGK, and then Midwest with Twista. I was going to do one rock band. That is wrong. That has changed. I had a good time with this, and I feel like every genre that I touch should get a month. So we are doing 4 rock bands. 4 rock bands, and the first one I chose was Journey. I already told you the reason. Okay, now I did this a little different than I did the others because the others with hip hop, I'm most familiar with that. I have an upbringing in hip hop. I was raised very near it. I know a lot of classic songs. I know a lot of music that came out before I was born. I am not like that with rock. I am into rock. I don't know if you can see or not, but I got a Disturbed hoodie on because Disturbed is literally my favorite band, but this is not an intentional play, by the way. I might end up stripping because it's hot, but y'all be alright. Now, I say that to say that I am not used to listening to rock and judging it per se, because that's kind of what this is. I'm kind of judging, but it's really just me telling my experience, and I'm not ever gonna be shitting on anybody or nothing like that. That's not really my speed, whatever. I don't like to talk about stuff that I didn't put the time in myself to be able to truly judge. Now, if we talking video games and competitive gaming, I'll talk shit because I know I've put in time to do that. If we're talking skating, and how I feel about, I can talk shit because I put in the time to do that. If it's relationships, I'll talk shit. I put in time for that. Freestyling, I'll talk shit because I put in the time. I put in 10,000 hours into these things, and so I feel comfortable speaking on this heavily. Speaking on it heavily in multiple different directions, different ways. With rock, not so much. So you'll have to pardon me, and if anybody wants to comment or anything on the video to help me, or give me a different point of view, I super appreciate it because I am a rock noob. I do know some rock, but most of the rock I know is from late 90s and up. So this is new territory for me. So I would say bear with me, but if you hear, and we're gonna have a good time. And let's go ahead and get into it. Now, Journey has 16 studio albums. Yes, I listened to them all and gave them multiple listens this entire week. Can you believe it? Probably not, but I did, and I have notes once again. Here we go. So, Journey's first album is self-titled, of course. Self-titled album. Self-titled album that begins with Of a Lifetime. Now, I had known Journey as a sing-heavy band, and this album was not that. It was actually a treat. This felt like a jazz fusion kind of band, so I'll continue speaking about that in just a little bit. Now, this begins with Of a Lifetime, which is to me a fire, chill, guitar solo driven jam. It was nice. And then there was Kohutek. Kohutek was a beautiful and fun 7-minute jam session. I'm just like, man, where the voices at? I was like, I don't care. This is fire. It's like instrumental rock, and I like instrumental rock, so this was a treat. It's hard for me to believe that this is how Journey started. You know, Topaz is another fun jam. It was like a slow starting. I was like, oh, this is where we get the Journey going. You know, the slow into rock ballad. Nope, it was slow into like a fast jam session. I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. And Mystery Mountain is the last song on this, where it basically is an outro. It's like a fun outro with it did have some cool vocals, right? Now the hits on this end up being Of a Lifetime, To Play Some Music, and Mystery Mountain. The feel of this just felt so cool and fun. The music fits the background of how so many places feel like a good time is had, and like, you know, like if you just think of a good time, like this music just kind of fits behind that, you know, like just people like summer fun, stuff like that kind of, you know, that kind of thing, or spring fun, summer fun, something like that. My favorite song ends up being Of a Lifetime and also Mystery Mountain. These two are tied for me because they're so cool and they're just instrumentally impressive. Now the instrumentation, the entire band is supremely technical. The standout for me, the Stryfe standout for me, ends up being the guitarist. He's just shredding throughout the whole project, and it's amazing. It's amazing as fuck, in my opinion. I enjoyed it heavily. Now, my favorite solo is Topaz. Is on the track Topaz. It starts at 3:35. It's just expressive and like blistering and technical. I'm a big fan. I did not play guitar heavy, but I can recognize. I played enough music to understand when something is pretty technical to perform. So that's what I'm speaking on. That was that album. Next album ends up being Look Into the Future. Now this opens with On a Saturday Night, which is immediately more vocals, and honestly the first vocal track driven. I mean, honestly the first vocal driven track thus far. And I was like, oh, okay, here's where the vocals come, right? Now, after that, You're on Your Own is like a fun song with multiple pace switches. And I was like, oh, pace switching? This is interesting. In 70, what is this? What came out in 76? Last album was 75, this album 76. So I was like, oh, wow. Look to the Future is, you know, title album song. It's a beautiful jam about the positive future of coming home. Maybe if you're like touring, or maybe like military, or any type of work that lets you do that, semi-trucking, you know, that type of stuff. The hits end up being Look Into the Future, It's All Too Much, and You're on Your Own. The feel to this one had more of a pensive, chill feel to this one. The vocals give a more emotional tone considering the topics and titles. I'm Gonna Leave You, You're on Your Own, and Look to the Future. Those topics are a bit, like a little on the somber side, wistful maybe. My favorite song ends up being You're on Your Own. It's a dope chill track with some pace switches, and I love me some pace switches and vibrant vocals and some sexy solos, you know, it's my thing. Speaking of solos, my favorite solo ends up being on Look to the Future at 6:55. It's just beautifully, emotionally, and technically sound. It just makes me feel, you know what I mean. The instrumentation on this one was pretty balanced. This album, the lead guitarist is still the standout to me. The Stryfe standout goes to the lead guitarist again, especially because of the solos. But the vocals, drums, and keys are solid as well. They are solid as well. Next, we have Next. Wait a minute. Yeah, they try to switch me up. Next, we have Next. Came out in 1977. I was negative 23. Or 13? Negative 13. But this starts with Spaceman. It's like a slower and smoother track. So I was like, okay, we're starting to get closer to what I know Journey as in this. The song I Would Find You is a beautiful, emotionally intense track that seems to be about finding a lost woman. You know, Nickel and Dime is another song that has some rock riff reference, and I don't know the song. And I think it might be a Who song. I'm not sure. And the only reason I know is because I played Rock Band. And I believe the Who was on Rock Band 1 or 2. And I believe there's a riff that they repeat in this song. So maybe the Who uses it as a sample, or I'm not exactly certain. But it reminded me of it. And I don't remember. I couldn't find the song. So if anybody knows, please feel free to enlighten me. Feel free to enlighten me. Anyway, the hits in this end up being Spaceman and I Would Find You. The feel of this project feels slower and more emotional as a whole. Some of the tracks just give you the feel, just give you that feel of like emotional and slow, namely Spaceman and I Will Find You. My favorite song ends up being I Will Find You. I absolutely love the idea and the pace and the emotional intensity of the instruments and how they're being played. So that ends up being my favorite song. Excuse me. My favorite solo ends up being Karma. Starts at 3:10 of the song. It's just a soaring, blistering, technically sound feel to it. Just the guitarist is amazing. For real. I'm gonna keep it a buck. Now, instrumentation, they sound more cohesive together with the vocals. Once again, the guitarist steals the show for me and wins the Stryfe standout. He's just technically impressive. It's hard to deny his awesomeness. It truly is. Next is Infinity. Opens up with Lights, a beautiful ballad of rock where immediately you recognize the new vocalist Steve Perry. This album feels like a mega hits album with Wheels in the Sky and, feeling that way early on the track list. Steve Perry, the chemistry seems almost instant. His voice is powerful and beautiful. They've also implemented singing as a chorus for the first time into their music and at times, and it really does sound nice. I didn't know how they were really going to do that. Let's see. Concept song. Can Do is a positive affirmation song. I was like, oh wow, interesting. They have positive affirmation songs, and it's basically a song about you can do it if you try. What's up, Roy? I'm in the middle of making the content right now. So I won't really be able to speak like that. We're on the StryfeSight on Journey. I am on the fourth album right now and going. Now, the lyrics are beginning to matter to me more so than past albums, noting Wheels in the Sky, Open Doored, and Can Do. Now, this is something that is really important, and I should have stated this early in this. This is something that's really important. Now, coming from a hip hop and R&B and rap upbringing, a major difference I have noticed, not with Journey specifically, with much of rock in comparison to hip hop, rap, and R&B. The instrument and how they are played is more important than the content of the lyrics in rock, more so than not. Now, there are some bands where the lyrical content is potent and good. It is just that people are in love when you listen to rock. People are in love with the way that the instruments are played, the guitar solos, drum solos, bass solos, and the vocalists and how they sing rather than what they are saying. And this is almost, I don't want to say it's true across all rock bands, but even my rock band Disturbed, they have really good potent lyrical content if you pay attention to it. But people really love the chorus parts where they're like not screaming, they're just like, no, and I am stricken and can't let you go. So like, no, I'm stricken and can't let you go is like, I'm like hurt. And I like, that doesn't matter. Like what he's saying and like what it means doesn't matter as much as how you feel when you hear him sing the chorus. And the same thing goes with a lot of other rock. Now, but the problem with that is that because I have a hip hop, R&B, and rap upbringing, what the lyrics are speaking about and how they're saying and rapped is more important than the beat and the instrumental in the background, more so than not. Now, don't get me wrong, rap and hip hop and R&B, they like to have a good beat or a nice background. But what they are saying is more important because often in hip hop, rap, and R&B, they are painting a picture for you to imagine. You know, they'll be like, turn off the light, R&B example, turn off the lights, take off your heels, like lay on the bed, you know, I'm about to give you it. I like I'm just giving you an example of how an R&B, like a R&B soul song would go. You hear that they are painting a picture, right? And like that matters because as they're singing it beautifully, right? I didn't. I'm not that great of a singer, I know, but they'll be singing beautifully, but they are also painting a picture. In rock, the pictures are not really being painted for their lyrical content. And in rap, you know, if they make a song about don't stop believing, it'd be don't stop believing, you can achieve it, believe, like, you know, it, but they are still painting a picture and you are following along with their words and you like how they're said. So the background is cool, you nod your head to the beat, but it is not more of a focal point than what they're saying. So that is something that I struggle with a little bit because I was trying to figure out what the fuck Journey was talking about when they're the wheels in the sky keep on turning, and I was like, it's a beautiful song, right? But I was looking into it like with my hip hop, R&B, and rap background, as in the lyrics are gonna mean something, and like it's just like the time, like, you know, the time or the sun or whatever. It's not much more than that. And oftentimes in rock, they will say something and the phrase behind it is not relevant to what they said before. Like, and that's okay. It's okay. It's nothing necessarily wrong. I'm not talking shit about rock. It's just that my musical brain is not used to receiving the music that way. That's all I was speaking. So, but I can tell that the lyrics are beginning to matter more and than in the past albums. So now the hits in this album end up being Wheels in the Sky, Lights, and Feeling That Way. The feel of this album, the vibes are emotional and heavy. A vast, somber beauty are words that come to mind. Steve Perry is a game changer, immediately affecting the emotional tone and overall pace of the band in a good way. The music is slower, but more palatable for the masses, in my opinion. My favorite song ends up being Winds of March. This song is just beautiful and heavy and smooth. I love the way it feels, and it has a pace switch. And it has a pace switch. And it also has my favorite solo of the album. Speaking of favorite solos, on Winds of March at 3:05, there's a keyboard solo. It's a keyboard solo. Shout out to Kane. Jonathan Kane is the keyboard guy that started after. Actually, I think this is Greg Rowley. This might be Greg Rowley. Yep, this is Greg Rowley. So Greg Rowley was the original keyboardist. And then in 1980, there's a guy named Jonathan Kane, which is who I ended up going to see when me and my girlfriend and her parents went to go see them in person. So, but the keyboard solo here was fantastic. It had me nodding hard, and it just felt groovy, fun, and technical. I liked it. The instrumentation, I believe things have become less complex for song quality in this album compared to the previous ones, which isn't a bad thing because the music is better. It seems maybe they found their intended sound on Infinity while still having a few jam sessions and solos in some songs. Steve Perry, when Stryfe stand out on this one, his voice is just powerful, emotional, and beautiful. So powerful. Now, I did a couple comment checks because I felt like it would be a good idea for me to look through the comments to figure out like how people feel about this music from 1980, 1977, when this came out in 78. I'm just like wondering because I know that it has to be older people checking, you know, like leaving comments. There's no Gen Z or Gen Alpha leaving comments on this, I doubt. They would be talking on TikTok or something. So I did all of this research on YouTube. Now, comment check from this album I saw was lots of Steve Perry praise, you know, comparison stating that no one is better than him comment. Journey's the best comments. Today's music sucks compared to this comments. and overall appreciation and old stories told of the times where they first heard Journey, you know. It's pretty cool. Now, the next album ends up being Evolution. Yo, Pats, you in the middle of StryfeSight on Journey, baby. Evolution opens up with a nice, primarily instrumental intro with Majestic. I did not expect that, but it was nice. It was nice. 1 minute and 15 seconds. It was pretty solid. Concept song. When You Are Alone is a jam speaking on loneliness in a light way. And I was like, oh, okay. And this album does feel lighter with a bit of a faster pace than the last album. Concept song Lady Luck is a song about luck being gone, but it's a smooth jam now. Smooth jam. Another concept song is Do You Recall, which is a cool rock version of Do You Remember the Time? This is literally a rock version. It's called Do You Recall. I don't know that Michael Jackson Do You Remember is before this. I don't think it is. This came out in 1979. So let's look that up to confirm. Michael Jackson, when did it come out? 92. So yeah. So maybe Do You Remember could be a play on this Do You Recall song, or could not. Who knows? Next is the hits. The hits on this one is Lovin', Touchin', Squeezin', and Just the Same Way. The feel of this album, the vibe is like a lighter summer relaxation and fun are words that come to mind. And this has a steady upbeat vibe throughout a decent amount of it. My favorite song ends up being Loving You Is Easy. This is a very relative song for me and has a nice vibe with a nice solo at the back end. Now, speaking of that, my favorite solo is on that same song, Loving You Is Easy, starting at 3 minutes. It is just a soaring, beautiful solo to end the song. I like it a lot. Next is the instrumentation. I see them as very cohesive. This felt very balanced as an album than the last, which felt vocally focused, although this is still great. They all get the Stryfe standout because I really enjoyed on this album where they harmonized all together. I thought those moments they stuck out and were very beautiful to me. All right. Next album, Departure. 1980. We have made it to 1980. This starts with mega hit, Any Way You Want It, That's the Way You Need It. Yeah, this is that album. It's a fantastic idea. It's an amazing song. Now, People and Places is a positive jam. It's a concept song, a positive jam that involves like some believe in yourself. Like, we can do it if we put our mind to it, is our actual lyrics to it. It's a really good message. I really appreciate a good message within your music. Excuse me. Precious Time has a cool summer feel jam with a harmonica on it. I was like, oh, harmonica? I heard it. I was like, is that a harmonica? I was like, it is. I was like, that's fire. I can't hate on that. So next is a concept song, I'm Crying. Is a emotionally sad song about crying. It's very intense, actually. So was interesting. Another concept song is Good Morning Girl, a beautiful track without drums or electric guitar. I was just like, wow, this is like a super Steve Perry track. It was nice. And another concept song, Little Girl. It's a sad song about breaking a girl's heart, but it's beautifully sung with our harmonica outro. Yeah. Now the hits on this one end up being Any Way You Want It and Walks Like a Lady. I don't know why I keep saying Any Way You Want It like that, but whatever, it happened. Let it roll. Now the feel of this album, this has a decent balance of summer vibes and like heavy spring rain on the slower songs sung. Now, my favorite song ends up being Little Girl. This song is sung so powerfully and beautifully despite the sad context. A majestically pensive song. It's truly captivating. Line of Fire is also a close second. It just feels fun to nod with the pace and the chorus, and it also has a dope solo. Now, speaking of dope solos, my favorite solo is in Line of Fire, starting at 127. It's just a classic scon shredding. The guitar... The supreme guitar skills are just impressive as always. Now, instrumentation, they have meshed very well into this rock ballad and steady paced rock style. During the ballad, Steve Perry shines very brightly, and during the steady or faster paced song, Scon usually shines, but sometimes the keyboard does as well. The standout for me goes to Steve Perry. This album, though, just sets the mood of the song. I mean, wait. The Stryfe standout goes to Steve Perry in this album. He just sets the mood to the song extremely well. Extremely well. Now, next, we have Dream After Dream. Now, this album has a little bit of story to it. This album is not technically owned by Journey, I believe. This album was made, they were paid to do a soundtrack to a movie. The movie is called Yume Yume no Ato. This work of art, this movie, was apparently so bad that they did not, the director wanted it to not exist, and the director is actually hard to find to this day, or after that. So this work is actually considered somewhat of a lost media. Like it's hard to find data about this on the internet. And I did some scouring. I did do some scouring. I did not watch the movie, thankfully, because apparently it was terrible. But the soundtrack was amazing because Journey did it, right? Now this opens with Destiny, which is a fantastic opening with a slow build up to a fun, fast-paced jam session. It definitely sounded like the opening to a movie. It was pretty good. The snow theme feels like you're witnessing a snowy afternoon and traveling through it. Sandcastle is a beautiful slow-paced jam that has a nice saxophone solo in it. Moon theme is a beautiful scon. It's just scon and Steve. Like I don't even think they have anything else going on, and it's just a beautiful track. Now, When the Love Had Gone is a song that's 4 minutes of scon, just giving emotional guitar play. That's the entire song, and it's fantastic, bro. I love the song. And the album ends with Little Girl, which is a song that was on the previous album, right? Now the hits on this end up being Little Girl because that was on their previous album. The feel of this, I haven't seen Yume Yume no Ato, but the plot was somber and triumphant, and the music had a somber and triumphant vibe to it at times. My favorite song ends up being Destiny. It's just 8 minutes of fun and emotions, and I like it a lot. Favorite solo ends up being When the Love Has Gone, which that's the song with Scon. It's just slow drums and Scon, the lead guitarist, doing his thing. Like he just feeling it. Like I can't emulate, obviously, but it was fantastic. I'll give it up. Now the instrumentation on this one is melodic and technical is really their thing. This was an interesting project, but that remains. Scon wins the Stryfe standout of the album. Not a lot of Steve Perry on this. The keys, Greg felt primarily supportive, not featured. Greg really. Now, next album ends up being Escape. Now, this begins with Mega Jam. Don't Stop Believing. I know your ears hurt. It's okay. Just remember, don't stop believing, bro. This album feels more upbeat and majestic or grand. And it also has a top-heavy feel to it because it's got Don't Stop Believing, Who's Crying Now, and Stone in Love, like at the beginning. They often throw their hits at the top of the album, and I super felt the top heaviness of this album, for sure. The concept song, there's a concept song, Mother Father, which is a song about family struggle and sticking together through trying times, which is, I like that. I like that as a message, for sure. Now, the hits on this one end up being Open Arms, Don't Stop Believing, Stone in Love, and Who's Crying Now? Sorry, I love that song. And Still They Ride. The feel of this had an upbeat, summer, majestic vibe to it. More so, there were more of those vibes than the pensive, emotional songs. This was a good balance on this album for sure. Now, my favorite song ends up being Who's Crying Now? To me, this joint just captures a poetic appeal for me. It seems it's about like the love struggle sung in a beautiful rock ballad. My favorite solo ends up being Stone in Love, and it starts at 2:36. This is one of the least complex solos from Scon, in my opinion, but it is just like a soaring and melodic solo that's easy and fun to emulate vocally, you know? And also, I think this solo is tied with it. Escape at 137 is a really fun keyboard solo and I'm always glad to catch these because they always feel like really fun and like really groovy, you know, even if the keyboard seems like it's mostly used to set up other instruments in this band. The instrumentation, this album was most balanced thus far, instrumentally speaking. The only thing I could want is for the drums to have some solo opportunities. They aren't bad. I just feel as though they give, Steve, Scon, and Greg or Jonathan Cain chances to shine on their own, but not the drums really. So Steve Perry wins Stryfe Standout, as this album has plenty of mega hits driven by his very vigorous voice. Now next ends up being Frontiers. Frontiers opens with mega jam, Separate Ways. Yeah, I was trying so hard not to you know. Okay, let me you no, okay, my bad. Break those chains that bind you. My bad. You understand what I'm talking about. Now the concept song Separate Ways is a song about coming back to an old flame despite breaking up in the past. And I was like, oh, okay. It's actually a pretty cool concept for such a lively song. Next concept song is After the Fall, speaks on the low of love lost. It's upbeat, but the content is pretty sad actually. Next concept song is Edge of the Blade, which is actually a fun jam about the corruption of power and its like dual edged blade. You know, too much power makes you too greedy. You know, too little makes you crave it and makes you desperate. So I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Now the hits in this ends up being Separate Ways, Cinder My Love, After the Fall, Chain Reaction, and Faithfully. The feel to this is more of sunny day vibes. More summer than spring rain in this one as well. My favorite song ends up being Separate Ways. It's too classic, too majestic, and too journey. I love it. Edge of the Blade is my second fave. I like the lyrics a lot, and the Scon solo at the back end is ridiculous. Speaking of solos, my favorite solo is at Edge of the Blade. It is at 325. Scon just goes further than beyond in this ridiculously technical and fast-paced solo. It's just impressive and amazing to hear, you know. Now, the album was more creative, instrumentally speaking, while staying in their same style, with Edge of the Blade and Frontiers feeling different, but still like Journey. Very cohesive, yet the Stryfe Standout goes to Steve Perry. He is just very powerful and very engaging and fun to hear and fun to sing along with. You know, you hear his voice and you just want to, you know, go your separate ways, you know, but he just really makes you like feel like singing sometimes. But yeah, that was a cool album, Frontiers. Next is Raised on Radio. Now, Raised on Radio begins with Girl Can't Help It. It's a fun and smooth and heavy harmonizing jam. You know, there's a concept song in this album that I really enjoyed. It's called Be Good to Yourself. It's a positive affirmation song about being good to yourself, especially when no one else will. And I love a good message, you know, like a nice, solid, positive message, but also a jam. I love that type of stuff, you know. Next concept song is Eyes of a Woman. This is a beautiful ballad about being lost in the eyes of a woman and the feelings associated with that. Heavily relevant to me. Heavily relevant to me in my current relationship. Now the hits in this end up being Girl Can't Help It, I'll Be Out Without You, I'll Be All Right Without You, Why Can't This Night Last Forever, Suzanne, and Be Good to Yourself. Now the feel of this album, this felt like a romantic album, as most of the songs are topics involving romance or heartbreak, with titles like I'll Be Out, I'll Be All Right. Why do I keep saying I'll be out? With titles like I'll Be All Right Without You, The Eyes of a Woman, Once You Love Somebody, you know, those like obviously make this feel like a very romantic album. Of course, this album feels heavy. On the love side, it's sweet and beautiful and romantic, and heavy are the words that sweet, beautiful, and romantic are that, and heavy are the words that come to mind. My favorite song ends up being Eyes of a Woman. It's a beautiful ballad that I heavily relate to, as I said earlier. And honestly, a great idea to write, like speak or sing about, you know. And Positive Touch is a close second. I just love the pace and the lyrics, and the sax solo in this one is yummy. Speaking of solos, my favorite solo is on Positive Touch at 3:40. There's a sexy sax solo, and this doesn't happen often at all. So shout out to Danny Hole, is the person playing the saxophone, not a part of Journey normally. So, you know, pull it up the Journey with a sophisticated sax solo. I liked it. It was fantastic. Now, instrumentation, we've got, this is classic Journey, melodic and technical. Maybe I'm just ignorant to this topic, but to me, the slower music with Journey typically gives better vocal range from Steve and less complexity from the rest of the band. Unless Scon or Greg slash, I think it's Jonathan Cain. Unless Scon or Kane has a solo in the said slower song, which is fine, but it's a noticeable drop off when listening to the instruments individually. Because I was targeting listening to the entire band and not just, I was enjoying the music, but also listening to the entire band for like things that I noticed musically. It's very noticeable when they go heavy into the slower songs. So the Stryfe standout though goes to Steve Perry. He's just the driving force of this album, and he gives me the feels, bro. He gives me the feels, and he's truly talented. Truly talented. Next album, Trial by Fire. Now, after a 10-year break, due to Steve Perry being fatigued and possibly wanting to go solo and conflicts with management and to escape the pressure of being in Journey, this album opens up with the banger Message of Love. You know, opens up with a banger Message of Love. We're all the way in 96 now. I was 6 years old. Whoop whoop. Concept song, If He Should Break Your Heart, is a cool jam about being in wait of a former lover if her new guy like breaks her heart. And I was like, oh dang, we waiting. I mess with it. We waiting. Next concept song is Easy to Fall, which is the song with the topic of those that struggle with falling in love easily or falling like mentally to like stress. You know, it's like falling in general. It's not specifically in relation to love. And I was like, oh, okay, this is an interesting take. Now, another concept song is I Can See It in Your Eyes. It's a song of seeing the intention within the eyes. It's a fast-paced jam. Now, and apparently this song was when this released, this was only available in Japanese, in the Japanese release of it. So I don't know why I Can See It in Your Eyes was not on the American version of the album. So I was just like, huh, that's interesting. Strange. Now the hits in this is in this one is When You Love a Woman and If He Should Break Your Heart. The feel of this album doesn't give the usual summer vibes to me, which is odd. It's more so a pensive spring light rain kind of music. It's a decent amount of slow jams and ballads. It helps, a decent amount of slow jams and ballads helps to be that feel. My favorite song ends up being I Can See It in Your Eyes. This song just has a great summer feel with a fast pace to it. The concept is cool though. Let's see. My favorite solo ends up being on Trial by Fire at 3:35. I'm not sure what kind of guitar this is. Maybe it's electric, but it had like a jazzy sound to it. It was the solo was jazzy, it was technical, and it was fun. Close second was I Can See It in Your Eyes at 3:15. It's a classic Scon shredding. Instrumentation in this was melodic and smooth. Was the play style. In my opinion on this, I Can See It in Your Eyes, Trial by Fire felt more instrumentally creative to me. Scon wins the Stryfe standout on this album, though it has plenty of rock ballads. Scon's play is what I gravitate to in this, with Trial by Fire and I Can See It in Your Eyes, Message of Love. My focus was more on his play than Steve, although there's no denying Steve Perry's greatness, of course. Now, Arrival. Now, This is the first album without Steve Perry. Now, I did originally look up why he left on Google, and I didn't like what Google said. I felt like it was not detailed enough, so I found an interview where Steve Perry was actually talking about this himself. After watching the interview, I've surmised that he left due to burnout, a loss of passion for music, vocal stress, and the health issues he had with the degenerative hip condition that made touring painful and intolerant. So that is why, during which he ended up getting into motorcycling, and he dealt with the grief from his mother passing, and he fell in love with a brilliant woman that had breast cancer for a year and a half until she died. But she made him promise not to isolate himself if something ever happened to her. So, and it also inspired a beautiful song called I Kept the Promise. So, that is some stuff here. So the singer we have here is a guy named Steve Augeri. Now, this starts with Higher Place, is a steady pace jam. There's a concept song in this called Love by You, just a sweet jam about being grateful for being loved by one. Another concept song is I Got a Reason, which is a song about having a reason to be alive because someone loves you. I don't quite, it's beautiful, but you should have your own reasons for that, in my opinion. For wanting to be alive. Now, another concept song, Nothing Comes Close, which is a jam about traveling the world, and nothing comes close to the experience of your partner's kiss. I was like, nice. This album definitely has a pensive tone. The hits on this one are A Higher Place and With Your Love. This album was pensive, and I believed with Steve Perry gone, I thought that they would have hid the singer, while like in regards, like I thought they would have like done like more fast-paced jams, more jams for like Scon, more jams like as in like more guitar driven, more keyboard driven. Like I was thinking they would try and avoid like letting the singer belt out and stuff, but they did the opposite. And they do still feel like Journey, they just felt less potent. And my favorite song ends up being Kiss Me Softly. It's a beautiful, slow and jazzy ballad. Favorite solo ends up being World Gone Wild. At 4:35 is a colorful Scon shredding, very technical and great as usual. The instrumentation on this, they got their original bass player back, Voss, which was, I believe he was fired on the last album or 2 albums ago, Raised in Radio. Forgot to mention that, by Steve Perry, due to some disputes. And what are you gonna do? You're gonna be like, oh no, Steve Perry, you can leave the band. You gonna let the frontman leave? No, you're not. That's not how it's gonna work. So, but they got Voss back with Steve Perry gone. But it was noticeable. There were more catchy bass lines in this. Other than that, they sound like themselves. The Stryfe standout goes to Scon with several excellent solos. He was jamming on this album. And no Steve Perry kind of helped, because Steve Augeri, unfortunately, I don't want to say that he sucks. I don't believe that at all. He just is not as powerful, in my opinion. Not as powerful, not as clear, not as rich of a singer as Steve Perry is. Now, next album ends up being Generations. Generations opens up with Faith in the Heartland, a bouncy and steady pace jam. There's a concept song on this, A Better Life. Song about the afterlife, and I was like, oh, okay, we're getting a little scary here. Another concept song, Believe, which is a song about believing in others and believing that the truth will set you free. I also think that Journey should avoid any songs that involve the word believe, because don't stop believing. Yeah, that's all we want to hear. That's all. It's probably all the people want to hear whenever you see that word and you see Journey next to it. Now, another concept song, Out of Harm's Way. This was a strange song about a military guy at war elsewhere trying to stay out of harm's way. I was like, oh, this is really different lyrical content. I was like, okay, cool. The hits in this one ends up being Faith in the Heartland, The Place in Your Heart, and Butterfly, She Flies Above. The feel in this album felt more summer vibes, more fun in the sun. It was a decent listen, not too pensive or somber. Favorite song ends up being None, because none of the songs really grabbed me, though they're decent. But I stand by what I said. There was no, like, if I did have one, maybe it would have been Out of Harm's Way, but I didn't really like, I guess maybe the instrumentation, or no, not the instrumentation. I didn't really like, I guess, the singing as much. So there was no favorite song. I didn't add it to any playlist or anything. But my favorite solo ends up being Out of Harm's Way. It's starting at 3:15. It's melodic, expressive, and technical. It's a technical solo from Scott. So the instrumentation, due to this album being more steady and fast-paced, it was nice to hear more solos from Scott. And Steve Augeri is doing a great job for sure. But the Stryfe standout goes to Scott again. Without the power of Steve Perry's voice, Scott's play is shining brighter to me in comparison to the rest of the band. Now, next album is Revelations. Revelations is the first album with Arnel Pineda. Arnel Pineda. It begins with a steady jam, Never Walk Away. It's a new front man. Steady jam, Never Walk Away. Concept song was Change for the Better. It's a jam about wanting to change to be better for someone else, and it's beautifully sung. Arnel, in my opinion, just based on like the first few songs, is an upgrade over Steve Augeri. It is almost instantly noticeable how powerful and sharp his voice is. Give me it. Now, another concept song, Faith in the Heartland, is a song that Steve Augeri got to sing. So Arnel got to sing the album right afterwards. I thought that was interesting. So I listened to them both. After I saw this song, I listened to them both back to back. And Arnel's vocals are just cleaner, more expressive, and more of a unique and soulful style than Augeri's is. That's what I surmised from listening to both back to back. Now, another concept song, The Journey. Revelations is a full instrumental jam session with Scott just hitting some technical and emotional strings for 5 minutes. It's just Scott plus drums, and I enjoyed it. It was a good time. Now, the hits in this one end up being Never Walk Away. After all these years, Don't Stop Believing, Wheels in the Sky, Who's Crying Now, Our Separate Ways, Be Good to Yourself, Open Arms, Lights, Any Way You Want It, Faithfully, and Stone in Love. The feel for this has a brighter, jazzy summer feel to it. Scott found Arnel Pineda on YouTube and was impressed with his vocal tone and range and stage presence and ability to emulate Steve Perry's songs. Arnel has a brighter and sharper tone, but still melodic and soulful, just not as melodic and soulful as Steve Perry. Arnel's style, with plenty of the hits, gave this album a more jazzy vocal feel to me, which was really fun to hear. Now, my favorite song ends up being Who's Crying Now and Separate Ways. These two are some of my favorites, of their entire catalog. Who's Crying Now just gives me tons of feels, and Separate Ways just makes me want to sing it always, every time I hear it. It always makes me want to see it. It's so fun to hear. Now, favorite solo ends up being Separate Ways at 3:15. This solo has a fantastic feel to it. It doesn't really get too complex to the back end of the solo, and it's also slower. So slower as well. So it's fun to like emulate the sound of this solo and maybe do an air guitar to it. Yeah. My bad, you guys. My bad. Sorry. That was probably really bad. Sorry for the ears. Sorry, not sorry. Now, the instrumentation on this has the classic melodic but technical skills on it, in my opinion, from the entire band. The complexity is there, albeit them simple at times. This album had a good mix of it. The Stryfe standout to me on this album goes to Arnel Pineda. His bright and expressive style is felt throughout the entire album. If Perry is a 100 fit for the band. I would say Steve Aguirre is a 60, and I would say Arnel Pineda is a 90 for like the fit of the band, in my opinion. You know, you can let me know if you disagree or agree with more in the comments. Next album ends up being Eclipse. Opens with City of Hope, which is a steady pace jam. And then there's a concept song, She's a Mystery. It's a jam about being confused of the actions and woman's intentions, which I imagine a lot of people can relate to that, including myself. Now, in my opinion, they don't sound like Journey in some of these songs. I suppose it's an evolution of the times. This album did come out in 2011. So, you know, it's their, what, 40 years in at this point? Just about. So, but it's not bad. It just feels off, in my opinion, after them sounding a very specific way for so long. There's some of these songs I'm like, whoa, this is Journey. Now, concept song Human Feel is a song speaking on compassion to keep the human feel. It's a nice and steady paced joint. Another concept song, Ritual, speaks of treating a love interest like a ritual, which I thought was funny, but I was like, honestly, I don't think that's a bad idea, you know, like treating your, you know, this is like, I come to this every day, I treat this a specific way, it's like a ritual. I mean, I was like, I haven't heard of somebody, you know, like I'm gonna treat you like a ritual, girl. I ain't never, that ain't the lyrics, but like that's the idea, the context of the song. And I was like, okay. Now, another concept song, To Whom It May Concern, is a song written agnostically, written for a hope of peace. It's a song writing to Allah. They named several different like godly figures, and you know, they're just hoping for peace. So it was an interesting song. The hits on this end up being Anything Is Possible and City of Hope. The feel on this has a bright and fun feeling to it, despite having a few pensive songs. The steady and fast-paced songs are fun and more frequent than in other albums. My favorite song ends up being Edge of the Moment. This is a song about being in the heat of romance, and it's fast-paced and it feels fun and less heavy. Usually their slower songs or their love songs or romance songs, they usually make them slow, and they usually feel heavy and like a little on the pensive, like little on the sad side, or like just very emotional side. My favorite solo ends up being Venus. This entire song is just a Scon super solo. And I love it. It's so technical and emotional. He can just make you feel, you know, different ways with his guitar play, and it's honestly impressive every time I hear something. Every time I hear something like this from him. Now, the instrumentation, this album had a bit of grunge from the instrumental side, and it was a nice change, in my opinion. Chain of Love and Edge of the Moment gave this doesn't sound like Journey, but it's still good. Like thoughts across my mind. Scon ends up winning the Stryfe standout in this album. He's kicking ass on that guitar. Truly talented, and I appreciate the journey of him as a musician. And last but not least, Freedom. Freedom opens up with Together We Run, which is a fun, fast-paced jam. There's a concept song right after that called Don't Give Up on Us, speaking to the fans after their last album reception was not too great on Eclipse. So I imagine people thought that it was the end, you know, or they wanted the older stuff, obviously. But yeah, that was interesting that they decided to make a song about that. Now, another concept song, Still Believe in Love, is a very, very smooth jazzy joint about still believing. Don't stop believing. You gotta stop putting believe in your titles if your biggest song has believe in your titles, man. Because every time I see it, I typed don't stop believing. Now, another concept song is The Way We Used to Be. Remember, this album came out in 2022. So this is pandemic times. So that means it was written during pandemic times. So The Way We Used to Be is a song about getting back to life, like pre-pandemic life. So it was very of the times. Hits on this are You Got the Best of Me and The Way We Used to Be. The feel of this album, the vibes felt like a true Journey project. Some love ballads and some steady rock jams that had a classic feel to it. My favorite song ends up being Don't Give Up on Us. This is a nice jam, but a bit somber because they know that after nearly 50 years of performing and touring that all is near its end, and they don't want the people to give up on them even in their 60s and 70s. You know, it's truly somber. Truly somber, or melancholic. Yeah. But my favorite solo ends up being on Don't Give Up on Us as well at 2:45. It's a classic ska shredding, powerful and technical, and it fits well with the song. The instrumentation on this album was a back to center for them. They sounded like vintage Journey all the way through. With that said, the Stryfe standout goes out to all of them for getting it together despite the differences on this long journey and being creative and performing. I appreciate them all. Scon and Perry are my faves, with Kane being underrated due to the power of Perry's voice and the power of the guitar from Scon. You know, the drums were fantastic and primarily solidly supportive throughout the entire band. You know, it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. In conclusion, this band, for me, this band has to be one of the greatest of our times, with 16 studio albums, a 50-year touring career. You know, a 50-year touring career, man. Like, I'm gonna put this up and let it play after this. A 50-year touring career, a 5 to 15-year peak of success, in my opinion. That 1980 to about 96, they just had so many jams there. I think that their peak is literally that 15, 16 years. It is impossible to deny their greatness. With multiple frontman changes and a near ending and a resurgence, listening to their 16 albums was quite the journey. Journey, I believe, are likely the kings of the rock ballad. So many songs across so many projects, speaking on love and ladies and heartbreak and vindication of others' heartbreaks. And they have tons of jams in relation to this. I found that my like for them is in the balance of their pace. Their slower songs are beautiful, but I suppose the pace of them give me a particular less interest at times. Separate Ways, Who's Crying Now, Little Girl, and Of a Lifetime end up being my favorite jams from them as a whole. With my favorite album, probably, this was difficult to choose. I'm gonna say that it's Revelations, but I really do like Evolution. I really do like Infinity. I really do like Evolution, Infinity. We'll say Evolution, Infinity, and Revelations. But I initially said Revelations because they have Arnel Pineda basically since most of their fans wanted the old Steve Perry songs to be resung, Arnel Pineda allowed them to do that, essentially. So this album, Revelations, has 12 songs that are their own, and then 10 of their classic hits that I had listed off earlier when we were going through the album. And it's honestly, it's great. It's great. Now, their internal struggles led to some members being fired and replaced, with, I believe, Neil Scon, the lead guitarist, being the only start to finish member from 75 to present day. 75 to present day. Man, I'm getting a little emotional. I feel it. Even with that, their sound was still great. Steve Perry is undoubtedly one of the greatest voices to ever sing. So powerful, clear, emotional, with a dramatic flair and a very soulful feel. I only listened to Journey this week, and after hearing him on the 8 straight albums where he was the frontman on, I went through Steve Perry fall off, which made me sad that he wasn't the frontman for the band. Steve Augeri replaced him for the next 2 albums, and in my opinion, he wasn't powerful enough to captivate for the 2 albums he was the frontman on. Though, Arnel Pineda picked up and was a great replacement for Perry. Fantastic in Arnel's own right, but Steve Perry will always be the true Journey frontman to me. The true Journey frontman to me. And now I'm going to play this without the sounds. Obviously, we don't want any copyrights, right? This is my girlfriend, Melody. She loves Journey. She loves Journey. Her family, they love Journey. I don't believe that they're their favorites, but her parents grew up in the era where Journey, they grew up in the 80s. So, like, that's literally exactly when Journey was firing on all syllables. Here's Arnel Pineda right here. We went to this concert, I want to say it was in February. It was in February a couple months ago. It was a really good time. The only songs I knew was Separate Ways and Don't Stop Believing. They played for like an hour and a half. Here's Scon, that's my guy, the Scon Shredder right there. He be murdering this guitar. This guy is 76, present day. 76 and still able to, rip this shit, man. It's truly impressive. Man, we got drum solos and stuff. I was checking out the venue. This is our main venue that the Pacers play in. I had to show the ladies singing. It was a beautiful time as well. Let's see what else we got. Oh yeah, Jonathan Cain hitting some crazy keyboard solo, I'm sure. Look, all the lights is off. All lights on Cain. Let me see it. Let's see if he got it. Like, I wish we could turn on the sound, but I'm not getting hit with copyright because I'm trying to put this out and I don't want it to be muted. If I play the music from the band, I'm pretty sure I'll get copyright strike and they will mute the audio. Like, and it won't just be the song. They'll mute some of what I'm speaking about. So yeah. Pretty sure they would mute the audio. But yeah, see, more Arnel Pineda. Oh, this is another guitar. This is another solo. Guitar solo, another Scon shredding. Bro, look, technical and emotional. Man, this was a good time. It was a really good time. Let's see what else we got going on. Yeah, Arnel Pineda was very expressive and very performative as a live singer. He was moving around, spinning, throwing the mic in the air and catching it with the other hand and on beat and stuff like that. He was doing he was jumping up where the drums are. We did a Wheels in the Sky Keep on Turning. Yeah, we did a duet, me and the lady. Look at that. The wheels in the sky keep on turning. Oh, I know that part. Now, this was funny. So Jonathan Cain is 72, and Jonathan Cain, the keyboardist, is 72, and Neil Scon is 76. So it was 148 years combined from these two. And they're doing their thing, man. There's nothing like seeing people mobile and active and being able to do what they love in their 70s, bro. It sounds like a joke, but in reality, I haven't seen 70-year-olds do well. Most of the 70-year-olds I see are near death, or like they're shaking a bunch, or they need to they're in, nursing homes. They're in nursing homes. Like, I don't see that many 70-year-olds mobile. I know 3. And that's these 2 dudes and my lady's grandma. My lady's grandma is 77, I believe, and she is very mobile, very able-bodied. But yeah, honestly, it was beautiful seeing that. But saying 146 years combined on stage is like crazy. And I didn't even add Arnel Pineda, which I believe is in his 50s right now, and the drummer, I cannot remember his name, and it's kind of making me mad because I did know his name, but they just didn't give me enough solos for me to remember to look at his name up. Journey drummer Steve Smith? No, it's Dean. That's what it was. I knew it started with D. But yeah, Dean. Yeah, I believe Dean is in his 60s as well. Arnel Pineda is in his 50s. Dean is in his 60s. So it's like 200 plus years of life when they go tour and be on stage. Yep, another Scon solo. They know what's going on. Another Scon solo. He's a real Jedi, you know. Yeah, man, this was quite the beautiful experience. Quite the beautiful experience. And then I got one last one here. One last one here. He put on a Benedict Mathurin jersey. Jonathan Cain did. I was like, what the heck? I was like, okay, that's a Pacers player if you guys didn't know. Well, he was. He's on the Clippers now, I believe. But yeah, it was a beautiful time. It was a beautiful time looking back. I had a wonderful experience listening to their full catalog. And so you should be good to yourself and get some listening too, so you can have a wonderful, emotional, and fun journey. Yeah, the journey puns. I've been doing them all week. And that's it. StryfeSight on Journey. Woo woo.